It's your voice that drives the conversation on the Morning Crossfire.
Weekdays from 5 a.m. to 9 a.m.
Your opinions, your stories, your take on the hot topics shaping our city and nation. We want to hear from you.
The president is aware that we have a security problem here.
I don't know which area you stay in Lagos. There is no light again. No. These investors, are they not hearing that there is no light in Nigeria?
Whether somebody loots or somebody will not loot, a lot of things will happen.
Why is Tinubu doing this to us?
Join Kofi Bartels for engaging debates, expert insights, and your voice at the heart of every discussion. Don't just listen, participate. Tune in and be part of the conversation. Only on 99.3 Nigeria Info.
Every morning, as the sun rises over this vibrant city of Lagos, we'll be right here with you. Diving into discussions that matter. We'll tackle the headlines, explore stories that shape our lives, and dissect the issues that keep us awake at night. But that's not all. The Morning Crossfire is your platform too. Your thoughts, your opinions, they all have a place right here. From politics to business and the economy, from the social issues to the heart of the city. I'll be your companion, your source of information, and your partner in exploration. And it's just not about the headlines. It's about the conversations we have, the connections we make, and the impact we create. Your insights matter, your questions matter, and your energy matters. So whether you're in traffic, having breakfast, or starting your workday, I'll be right here, keeping you informed and engaged. So Lagos, stay tuned, set your alarms, and mark your calendars, and let's kickstart our mornings together, right here on the Morning Crossfire on 99.3 Nigeria Info. And Kofi Bartels, let's talk.
Live from the heart of Victoria Island, you're listening to your number one station, 99.3 Nigeria Info. Morning Crossfire on 99.3 Nigeria Info.
All right, welcome back. We'll continue from where we stopped during the paper review. Lots of calls coming through, so please get your calls coming through. Your thoughts on what's going on with all the stampedes around the country. Some people say, there's more to it than meets the eye. Others feel otherwise. Please hold on. I want to get to our guest. So, where do you stand in all of this? Is government to blame or not? Is the president directly responsible? Look at what the Tribune said today, some other papers as well. And what our friend from the UK also said, that, there's hunger everywhere in, different countries of the world. It's all about the attitude of Nigerians to queuing and being patient to wait for their time. Is that the case, or is it about increased hunger in the land? We'll be speaking with a guest who is a health and safety expert. He's an official of the Institute of Safety Professionals of Nigeria, coordinator in Rivers State. He'll be joining us pretty shortly. But before we went on the news break, I think it was Mrs. Oboli who was with us. I've had to call her back. Are you there, madam? Can you hear me? Hello? Okay, because she couldn't make a point, and I suspect it's still on this thing. So I'll call her back, and you can start calling. All right, you can start calling while we try and patch our guests through. I'm a bit here, there, and everywhere, but that will be sorted out once our guest joins. I can see him joining through. Mr. Boli, that your number? Does it not allow calls to come in? Okay, our guest is here with us, and we'll put him on shortly. 99.3, good morning. Oh my! So our conversation this morning is geared towards ensuring that we are informed, educated, enlightened to take the right steps in order to save lives whenever we have mass gatherings. For things like sharing of rice and all that. So please bear with us while I try to put our guests through. All right, are you there, sir? Well, I guess this morning is a member of the Institute of Safety Professionals of Nigeria, like I said earlier, ISPON. He's also a member of the Nigeria Society of Engineers, NSE. He is a member of the Nigerian Environmental Society, the NES, amongst others. He is the state coordinator, River State branch of the Institute of Safety Professionals of Nigeria, and also the secretary of the National Committee on Safety Ethics, Compliance and Enforcement of ISPON. He is the lead consultant at Marana Global Services Limited and the brain behind HSE Board, a safety management software that is helping improve safety management in Nigeria. Guest this morning on the Crossfires, Mr. Fasusi Olayinka. Olayinka, good morning to you. Thank you for joining us this morning on the Crossfire.
Good morning, Kofi. Thank you for inviting me this morning. I'm happy to be here.
All right, fantastic. I wish we could see you. I don't know if that's possible because I can see you. Maybe enable your video if possible.
Yes, you can. My apologies.
No
my
problem.
My video is refusing to start.
Okay.
If there's anything you can do at your end.
Okay.
But my video is currently active. My camera is on.
Okay.
But
maybe you log out and log back in. Let's see if it'll change, it'll improve.
You see, I've been on this for quite a couple of minutes. That's why I joined late, because
okay.
I was on another link for almost 10-15 minutes trying to turn on the camera. So it's not about this link, actually. But my camera is active and it is on as I speak.
All right. We'll see what we can do. I don't know if... well, let's just get to our technical guys to see if anything can be done, All right, while we wait for that to be sorted out, we're looking at preventing stampede at mass gatherings, preventing stampedes at mass gatherings. And I won't waste time to go into the details of all the stampedes we've had recently. We had Ibadan Fest, where more than 30 people died. We've had most recently Abuja and then Anambra. Fasusi, please, as a professional, what do you think, looking at all that's happened, is the cause of the stampedes we've had recently? These three in particular. You can take them together or one by one. From your understanding and observation, from where you are, from the much you know, what do you think, what do you suspect led to these very horrible stampedes leading to the loss of life?
Yeah, thank you, Kofi. Before I jump into the question, I like to provide a little background so that our audience can also understand from the points where we are talking from. You talked about the Institute of Safety Professionals of Nigeria. That's the regulatory body for safety management in Nigeria, as established by the Institute of Safety Professionals of Nigeria Act 2014. By that act, our institute controls or regulates and sets standards of safety management in Nigeria, both in the public and private sector. And so that background is good for us. Talking about the issues of stampede. Unfortunately, these things happened. First of all, I would like to extend my condolences to the bereaved, as well as the families that have lost their loved ones. It's quite unfortunate. We had a case in Abuja, a case in Anambra, and another case in Ibadan. But the question I want to ask is, are these the first cases of stampede in Nigeria? No. It's quite unfortunate. We've had history of things like this, right? But when you look at all these scenarios, all these incidents, they have something in common: poor planning. They happen in different locations, they happen in different environments, but poor planning is one thing that you want to talk about. When we now start looking at specifics, if we now carry the case of Anambra, for example, take the case of Abuja, take the case of Ibadan, put them now before the searchlight to start looking at specifics, we can now see certain things that might have contributed to what happened there. But in all the instances where you see cases of stampede, number one thing you think about there is poor planning. The event manager, what processes do they have in making sure that these events hold successfully? Funny thing is this: these people have good intentions. For example, in Ibadan, they were doing kind of a fun fair. In Abuja, they were donating rice and so on and so forth. So these things were done out of love for humanity. But if the love is not properly implemented, it can become a disaster, just the way we have seen. So the competencies of the people managing this event is very important. And that's where safety comes in, because when you're looking at issues of dealing with crowd, it goes beyond you having a good intention. It goes beyond wanting to help people. For example, in Ibadan, we've seen that people have been arrested.
Yeah.
These are people who meant well for the audience, but their good intention backfired because of poor planning. So, for now, what I will summarize is that these issues have happened because of poor planning.
All right.
Because the organizers do not have the what it takes, the technical requirements to gather that type of crowd. And we want to look at poor planning in details. We can go on and start discussing that.
All
but
right.
I think you have a question.
Yes, indeed. We'll look at the details now, how to properly plan as we go on. You're experienced professional, and I've had you on a couple of my programs because of things like this. So is it possible, Olayinka Fasusi, is it possible that an event could be well planned, properly planned, all the boxes ticked as far as safety is concerned and health and all that, but you have a stampede? Is it possible?
Yes, it is possible. I must be frank with you.
How so?
Right? In safety management, we have what we call preventive measures. Now, preventive measures will be part of your planning process. It gives you the opportunity to identify instances like stampede, for example, and other things that can cause your event to fail, that can expose the audience to risk. Then you put controls in place to ensure that these things don't happen. So, for example, in the event of the planning process, during the planning process, you consider things that can help you prevent stampede. That will be under the preventive measures. However, our planning can be limited by experience, for example, by available resources. For example, available resources now could be in the terms of the facility you want to use. Yeah, like in the case of Ibadan, they were planning for 5,000 people.
Yeah.
Something tells me that they did some level of planning for them to be able to estimate the capacity they are looking for compared to the capacity of the venue. Now, had it been there was no, the crowd did not overshoot their estimation, they will have had a more successful event. So something tells me they've done a level of planning. But yes, that answered your question. Is it possible to say have a failure after a planning? Yes. And in safety management, we recognize that's why we have what we call control measures. Rather, recovery measures. I beg your pardon. So we have the preventive measures and recovery measures. So recovery measures will now come in. Should there be a situation where your planning fails, where things you never anticipated occur during the events, where reality now presents itself to you, what you fall back to is your recovery measures. These are actions you will take to help you respond effectively and efficiently to emergency. Now, in Ibadan, I saw something like that. When I looked at the scenario, when the crowd was gathering, at a point, they understood that they were shooting above their capacity.
All right.
From the incident report that I read out from Nigerian Info, somebody shot the gates.
Yeah.
That shutting of the gate is part of recovery to ensure that the incident will not happen. But another person gave an order for the gate to be opened. Now we had the stampede. At the point where the stampede had happened, do they have emergency responders on ground? You can't tell me that you want to gather a crowd of 5,000 people and you don't have first aiders on ground. I mean, competent first aiders. Red Cross, for example, you hardly pay them. Red Cross is a voluntary organization, it's a humanitarian organization. I've had instances where Red Cross will take their own vehicle, their own fuel, to come and support an event.
Okay, so you're saying, Olayinka Fasusi, you're saying that that act of closing the gates and opening the gates again, may have been responsible for what we saw in Ibadan. You're not concluding, but you are saying from the incident report, you're guessing that could be responsible. That's your analysis, amongst other things, based on information as it comes out. This issue of gates is also repeated in Abuja, because from the report this morning, one of the victims said in the papers that when they opened the gates, that's what he said, when they opened the gates, they felt like they were swept away by a flood, and that the husband was near her or something like that, and he fell down, she couldn't help him, and she felt like they were swept away. So I mean, talk about this issue of gate, as we relates to, and it's not the first time we're hearing of people being smashed at the gate. Before I yield, I remember my father, I can't forget, my father has always told me from a childhood when he was in a Stampede at a stadium, he went to watch a football match, and he was at the gate in front, and they trampled on him, So what is it about this thing called gate and Stampedes, sir?
Yes, so I will not call it gate, I will call it access.
Access, okay.
Yes, in every facility, you must have the entrance, the access where people come in normally. And when I mean normally, on a normal situation, you have a seminar, people walk in. So the door, the entrance, all this are part of the access into that event. When you are planning an event, you must consider whether you have enough access to carry the capacity. Many times Stampede happen because a lot of people are trying to use the same access, the same entrance or exits. And then issue of pushing. I think in Abuja, I looked at the story of one of the victims who said she was trying to enter and then people started pushing. She was with her child and the child fell. Before she knew, about 5 people were already on that child. So she had to practically started biting people before she could recover the child from that place. And what happened? The same access a lot of them wanted to use at the same time.
Is that what you call a surge? A surge, maybe.
That is surge, actually. That's a surge. The person that said they were almost swept away, they felt like a crowd. That's a surge, crowd surge. Thank you for that. Now, apart from the normal, regular access to the event, do they have emergency exits? Many of these events, for example, will be organized in an open field. When you have this type of event in an open field, the chance of stampede is still there, but it's minimized because you now have multiple ways to escape. So instead of you and I try to force ourselves through that tiny entrance, through that tiny gate, if you're passing there, I can just pass by your side because everywhere is opened. So it's a matter of planning the events, choosing the suitable venue, and ensuring that you have enough entrance and exits.
But Olayinka, is it? I mean, if you plan this event, and you open the gates suddenly, and people now start flooding in. I mean, is that probably the wrong way to because you said, for instance, in Ibadan the gates were closed, and then someone said open the gates. My suspicion maybe is that in Ibadan maybe it's the person who said open the gates back, open them again or reopen them, so that people behind were pushing people in front, because you'll be crushed if you're at the front, not knowing the gate had been closed. I've seen it happen in stadium. They don't know the gate has been closed. Everybody wants to go out. Maybe the tear gas is fired, and then those at the back are pushing to go out, not knowing the gate has been. So those in front get crushed up against the gate. You do you think that's something that can happen too? Therefore, they so open it so that people can come in.
No, that's something that can happen, but it's a wrong decision.
Okay.
This is not a time to blame anybody.
Yes.
But we're just looking at specific actions that were taken.
Yes.
I was not there in Ibadan, but from the analysis I looked at, it appeared to me that the gate was locked when the event organizers knew that the crowd was becoming too much.
Okay.
I may be wrong, but from the report that I saw, it looked like some persons were already inside and others were shut out because of crowd management. So when you say open the gates, it's a way of saying let more people come in. But then there's what we call risk assessments. Every action you want to take, you must consider the risk involved in it, particularly in issues like as critical as opening the gate when you have a lot of crowd outside. You know that you're opening the gate. Have you considered your own safety? If they come in and you're trying to say, no, they will push you and they will trample over you and you're gone. So opening the gate is not even what you should be thinking about. You should think about whether it is safe to open the gates.
All right. I guess so. When we come back, I want us to go straight to the preventative measures. Steps that we need to take. Anyone having any event, and also look at what the government is saying about something. So we'll be right back in a few minutes with you, please.
Pregnant Care.
Do you know why you should take Pregnant Care?
Is formulated by scientists to create the safest and most trusted formula. Pregnant Care from Vitabiotics UK contains 19 micronutrients, including folic acid and vitamin B12, which help reduce birth defects in babies. Pregnant Care, helping produce healthy Nigerian babies and moms. Available now in all good pharmacies.
Pregnant Care.
Lagos! Are you ready? Feel the pulsating energy of the city like never before as the Lagos State Government and Chain Reactions Africa present the Lagos Shopping Festival. It's a season of deals, discounts, culture, comedy, concerts, drinks, dance, gaming, food and fashion. It's all happening at Mobolaji Johnson Arena, Oniko, Lagos, and 5 other malls across the city of Lagos. Date is the 23rd, 24th, and 25th of December 2024. Time, 72 hours non-stop. Come with your brands, wallets, and party shoes to Africa's largest shopping festival. For sponsorship, partnership, and bookings, call 0803-710-0731 or 0704-782-7000 or email info@lagosshoppingfestival.com. Lagos Shopping Festival, a different shopping therapy. Powered by Zenith Bank, Indomie, Mini-Me, Power Oil, Omnibiz, Guinness, and First Bank. Who says you can't have it all with one play? I got that defined, but you have just won yourself.
Congratulations. Hello, good morning.
Yes, Melitus. One player, don't talk to 2 players because you won 20K.
So now you won yourself 20,000 naira.
My name is Well Done.
Okay, well done. You want to tell you well done. You won yourself 20,000 naira. With 500 naira, you can play to win big. From 120,000 naira to 190,000 naira daily on Nigeria Info. Go to oneplay.ng and play with 500 naira. And in a few seconds, your ticket is in the draw. Or dial *347*880*3#. Win daily on Nigeria Info. 50,000 naira on Morning Crossfire. 60,000 naira on WhatsApp Lagos. 20,000 naira on Sunnyside. And 60,000 naira on Game On. So Lagos, what are you waiting for? The more you play, the better your chances of winning. Remember to dial *347*880*3#. Play responsibly. Not suitable for persons under the age of 18.
Is it okay to make fun of our tooth back? Let's have a talk. Colgate makes your teeth so strong. Stop cover your mouth. Not to do yanga with your smile. Brush your teeth with Colgate. Zero cavities and fresh breath. If you use a Colgate paste. Not to do yanga with your smile. Brush your teeth with Colgate. Colgate, #1 oral care brand in the world.
Stay sharp, fuel up, and be on top of your game. Power Horse is here to boost your energy and conquer the day. Don't miss out on an unstoppable offer for Nigeria. You can now buy Power Horse 250 ml for just 999 naira. And for those who need a little extra, grab the 355 ml for only 1,299 naira. Don't wait. Head to the nearest store today and fuel up. Power Horse, unstoppable you.
As the year closes, Power Oil thanks you, our resilient community. Through challenges, you've shown strength, creating moments that matter. Together, we've walked for healthy hearts, celebrated life, and cooked meals filled with care. Your resilience inspires us to keep supporting your health and well-being. This season, let's continue to make meals that matter, cherishing love and hope into the new year. Merry Christmas and a powerful new year from Power Oil.
Power Oil, hey, Power Oil.
I miss the man I married. He never said no to anything I asked him to buy. But since he made massive profits from his first home in Horizon Estates, everything changed. Now, all he seems to do with his money is buy more homes at Horizon Estates because he wants more massive profits. New car?
No, let's save up to buy a home in Horizon Estates.
Vacation with the kids?
No, now. A home in Horizon Estates something dey important, you go stress am.
Oh yeah, come now. This one, na better.
And as Pepsi 60cl long throat bottle don land.
Hey, madam, give me big refreshment.
That's one, na Pepsi 60cl long throat bottle now.
Yes, oh, Pepsi 60cl long throat bottle na big refreshment, big value, big flex. In fact, this one na all round big things. No dull, go buy your own Pepsi 60cl long throat bottle sharp. Pepsi, thirsty for more.
Start your day and have a good time.
Kivo Creamer.
Where you need to have the break time.
Kivo Creamer.
It's not tea, but margarita.
Kivo Creamer. Kivo Creamer.
Hey! That time of the year don't reach again, oh! Glow Festival of Joy promo don't land gidigba. And we dey make them happen heavy with breakable prices. Hear them now. 5 tier over Toyota Prados. 5 Chacha Kia Picantos. No be smart, you know. It go even heavy vaso. Sake of say 15 keke napep still there for win. Plus 150 generators, 200 sewing machines, and 300 grinding machines. You see the wait? Make yourself be one of the lucky winners in the Glow Festival of Joy promo. Just dial *611#. Choose your price and recharge now. With Shinkly money, where small reach 1,000 naira, go reach 100,000 naira. Make you forget better chance to win ogbonge prizes from Glow. Promo go start from October 1 till end of January 2025. Glow Festival of Joy promo. Get carry go stamp by the Nigerian Communications Commission, NCC, and the National Lottery Regulatory Commission, NLRC. Terms and conditions deal.
Unlimited.
In the kitchen game, there are players and then Agba Ballers, MVP, Player of the Year, 10-0, no rival. Become an Agba Baller with a new improved Maggi chicken flavor, the game changer, made with a flavorful formation of onions, celery, turmeric to bring out your top game in the kitchen. Elevate the taste of your everyday dishes with delicious rich chicken flavor. Oh yeah, let's go.
New Maggi chicken flavor, the game changer.
You are listening to your number one station for talk.
Your number one station for talk.
99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's talk.
Live from the heart of Victoria Island, you're listening to your number one station, 99.3 Nigeria Info. Morning Crossfire on 99.3 Nigeria Info.
Welcome back. The governor of Lagos State, and indeed the government of Lagos State, has directed that those who want to have events this period, this season, I think even beyond, to be attended by more than 250,000, by more than 250 persons, need to register with the state safety agencies. Remember how it was during COVID, the COVID period, when if you have an event, you have to register, you have to go and send, like even wedding ceremony, burial, you have to send the name of all those attending and all that. People never filled those things truthfully and well. It was just feel something, and addressed to the governor. So we're back there. This time, if you want to have an event with 250 or more attendees, you have to go register with the Lagos State safety agencies when you're planning that event. That's what we're hearing from the Lagos State government. This is because of the stampedes experienced in Abuja, in Ibadan, and in Anambra, Okija. And the Lagos State government does not want such a stampede to happen here, leading to loss of life, precious loss of life. I think the last one I heard in Lagos State was in Yaba, where the Nigerian Customs Service wanted to share seized rice, and those who went to get the palliative, some of them lost their lives in a stampede. Now, the government says that if you fail to comply with the directive from the Lagos State government, you will be sanctioned as an event organizer. You will be sanctioned. I just hope that we won't hear another story coming out of this one again. But anyway, some would say that the Lagos State government is being proactive compared to other states in the country. I think it's a good one. Yesterday, the Commissioner for Special Duties and Intergovernmental Relations in Lagos State, Benga Oyerinde, and Commissioner for Information and Strategy, Mr. Benga Omotosho as well, both gentlemen, both of them being Benga, Mr. Benga Yeride and Mr. Benga Motosho, together with the heads of the safety commissions in Lagos State, they held a press conference, or should I say media, a press briefing, let's call it that, regarding this particular directive from the governor of Lagos State, who we hear from Motosho is deeply concerned about the recent incidents, in Ibadan, neighboring Ibadan, and other parts of the country. Our guest this morning on the program, as we seek to find out ways to prevent stampede at mass gatherings, is Fasusi Olayinka. He is a coordinator of the Institute of Safety Professionals of Nigeria, ISPON in River State. And please, your calls are welcome. 0201 277 0993. Let's talk about solutions now. 0201 277 0993. And we have 0201 465 7190. Our WhatsApp number just for your messages only 08095 975805. We're streaming on Facebook, YouTube, and of course we have a post on X you can respond to. And for Fasusi Olayinka, let us go straight to, thanks again for your time. Let us go back straight rather to what we need to do. If I'm having an event, please don't call the Skype. The Skype is not available for now. If I'm having an event and I'm having a lot of people coming in, as an event organizer, what do I need to do to ensure that we don't have a stampede leading to loss of life?
Thank you so much once again, and I'm happy to be back live again. I want to first commend the Lagos State government for taking that initiative. Yes, we'll say it's proactive, particularly because something like this, at least in the news flying around, has not happened in Lagos. We don't know what is happening in Lagos. What Lagos State is doing is in line with what the Institute of Safety Professionals of Nigeria is doing. Right? This is about regulating. This is about controlling. This is about responsibilities and accountability. Right? If you don't hold the organizers responsible, if you don't give them a protocol for making sure that people are safe, they won't take that responsibility. Like I told us when we started, ISPON, that's Institute of Safety Professionals in Nigeria, is the regulatory body for safety in Nigeria. We recently released a new regulation, which is the ISPON Regulations 1, General Provisions for Safety Management in Nigeria. Why that is being enforced through our stakeholders and partners in the government agency, we're also working on other regulations now, which coincidentally aligns with what is happening in reality, and that's on public safety regulation. Because, like I told us, unfortunately, this series of events have happened in the last few days, but we've had cases where even government was organizing, okay, let me not say government, political parties were organizing rallies, and there was stampede, and people lost their lives.
Yeah.
That happened with the records. So, because of those things, we needed to put regulations in place that will now ensure that these things don't happen. And the action of the Lagos State government is perfectly in line. The only slight difference, of course, I should not be talking about the regulations now, but the only key thing is in our regulation, we are saying 200 people and above. But Lagos State government is saying 250. Of course, ours is still in the process. By the time we follow through the process, we'll bring out something that can save people, particularly in the public space. Now, coming back to the event planning process, I have no doubt that what every organizer has in mind is a successful event. But we always tell people your event cannot be successful if it is not safe. And to make it safe, you must pass it through a risk assessment process. Sometimes ago, when this was common in Nigeria, I and my colleagues, we came up with a template then, which is still somewhere in the pipeline because of approvals and things like that. And we call it event risk assessment. It has a series of checklists. It has a series of planning procedures that an organizer, you don't need to be a safety professional. You can carry that template and make your event work. It will guide you specifically on issues you need to pay attention to when you are planning. So that's about that. You must have a risk assessment process to ensure that your event will be successful. Beyond that, I talked about crowd control. This will include use of other means as a result of your risk assessment. Because of the risk assessment, you may now identify that you need to involve people like police, for example, to help you manage crowd. And the way the crowd will respond to police is not the way they will respond to you, the organizer. We've heard of other events where, okay, they're not engaging the police, they have bouncers, for example. The bouncers are part of crowd management, they're part of crowd control. They will restrict your access. If a police is standing before you and say, don't cross this line, if the gate is closed, don't cross this place. No matter how much you want to enter, they will exert a level of force on you to ensure that you comply. And if the gate is closed because the people inside are already filled to capacity and they don't want anybody to enter again, they will disperse the remaining people. It happens also in stadiums and other large events. So crowd control is very important. Now, when I was in the university, the crowd may not be as large, but still a large enough crowd to cause incidents. Sometimes when you want to do some registrations that involve a lot of students, you will see people coming together to come and do the same thing. And students are always in a hurry. What do the management of the school do? They will make sure that you follow a queue. So while you are on that queue, you wait for your turn. And if they find out that the management staff managing the crowd is exhausted, they will tell everybody to go back and come back the next day. And I can tell you there's nothing wrong for these organizers to always also say, okay, so we cannot attend to these people today. We want to put this event in 2 days. We know the crowd will continue to increase, but they will have to have a strategy to ensure that the event is successful by making it safe. They have to have emergency responders on ground. Even fire service must be on ground. Red Cross must be on ground. Ambulances must be on ground. These are things that you'll find missing. Some of these people who died in the Stampede, after they have been trampled upon, for example, there is nobody to give them the first aid procedure because everybody there is just aiming at getting my own portion of rice. So nobody is concerned about who is on the ground. And you may be surprised. Somebody may even be stepping on his own friend, the people they came together. But they will not bother at that point because they wanted to get a portion of the rice or whatever relief material they are sharing. So if you have a dedicated police, a dedicated emergency responders, and so on and so forth in place, these people are not going for the rice. They are going for the crowd. They are going for safety. They are going for security, and so on and so forth. So what government in Lagos State is doing is good if they can implement it. And with the support of the institute, we can also give them 1 or 2 recommendations to make sure that the whole agenda, the whole intention of that type of action or decision or policy is achieved. Because when it comes to safety of the people, no matter how much rice they want to give you, it cannot be compared to the life of people that have been lost.
Interesting.
Quite unfortunate.
All right. So when are we to expect ISPON to be done and dusted with its guidelines, for large gatherings?
Public safety regulations.
Yes, public safety. When would that be concluded?
I will say this as a privileged information because I'm also one of the people working on the regulations, right? But our timeline is before the press quarters. We expect the board of institute to have signed it into sign the document so that we can enforce it.
All right.
Right. So before the press quarters next year should be done. We are almost more than halfway done already.
All right. Thank you very much. Stay with me, Olayinka, Fasusi. Let's put our listeners through the entire
Good morning,
Lagos.
Mr. Kofi.
Good morning. Welcome. What's your name?
My name is Robert.
Robert, where are you listening from?
Apapasa. My problem is that, Kofi,
yeah,
like somebody said, the last comment of his food is I don't know. You understand? We don't do something at the end of the day, we begin to regret. Kofi, let me tell you, next year projection, according to this year budget, about year production, 2.06 million barrels per day. And people still feed on dustbin. It's not a shame. Let's even say, okay, we don't have agriculture. We are not able to produce it. What we produce here a day can still feed. Look at other countries have. I hate it when something happens. The government will say regret it. The truth is that, as you said this morning, the president is not directly responsible for what happened. But it's important.
All right. Your line is not too clear, but I think I got you. You said the president is under. That's not what we're talking about now. We're looking at ensuring measures to take to ensure that you don't have stampede at mass gatherings. Okay, we're not looking at the politics of it all now. We have a caller here, 99.3. Good morning.
Good morning, Kofi.
Welcome. Name, location, and contribution.
My name is Engineer Ekundayo. I'm calling you from Ikorodu.
Right.
Well, I just listened to your guest, on this issue of Stampede and so on. I did read a Twitter text message of the governor that in Lagos State, there is a Lagos State safety agency.
Yeah.
So I want to suggest to your guests, since they are an organization and they are professionals, maybe they can work in consonance with that safety agency so that they can, whatever regulations they bring out, I mean, it can have the force of the law, one, and it can go round so that it will save lives. Thank you.
That's what we talked about when we said that a media briefing was held yesterday to inform the public of the directive from the government of Lagos State that if you have an event of 250 persons in attendance and above that you're planning for, you must go register with the safety agencies of Lagos State. And I know that apart from the safety agents, you have a number of organizations working together on this. But let me come back to you, Fasusi. You talked about risk assessment, number one. Number two, you talked about crowd control, and you broke down crowd control into different components. Let's look at the crowd control. You talked about the presence of security agencies and officials to basically steward the crowd. I've seen events where you have all these. There was one that happened close to you there in Port Harcourt, recently. You have all these. Even before the organizers were able to start the event at dawn, that could have been maybe 5 a.m. People, decided that, we can't queue, we can't wait anymore. We need to break through this gate, go in there and seize whatever we want to seize. You also talked about people rushing for items, and trampling upon others, not caring to stop to help those who are down, but saying, oh, this man is down, I'm going to march on his head to go, I must grab that bag of rice. So is there an aspect of this that goes beyond what the organizers can do? If certain elements in the crowd decide we are going to do whatever we need to do to get these things, hands on these palliatives or these things being given, there is nothing the police can. I tell you what, sir, I'm asking the question. You're the professional, so you tell me. In Port Harcourt, some of those who were detailed to control the crowd lost their lives at Polo Club. I know you remember that event. Lost their lives at Polo Club. So is there, is there a point at which, even if you have all these measures, first aid, police, civil defense, they even brought army, people will not listen? Can that happen?
Well, it's possible. It's possible. I also tell you from the professional point of view, in safety management is not all about preventing an incident from happening, right? Sometimes you may have everything within your control to prevent the incident, but situations beyond your control may still present itself. And so when we're thinking of preventing incident, we're also thinking of managing crisis should there be an emergency. Part of managing the crisis will be to reduce the casualties, to reduce the total loss at the end of the day. We have all these things in place. For example, if you're on a construction site, you don't want someone to be injured. But if the person is carrying a particular item and the person is injured, for example, you must have a process to assist the person immediately, rather to respond so that the person does not suffer beyond what is necessary. So these things are there. Now, when I talked about the planning process, let me give an example. I had a friend in US who wanted to do his wedding, right? And the friend said he's inviting people only through the card. So if you don't have the card, you cannot enter the event. And he said he was inviting 50 people. So he printed 50 cards. And these cards included people in his family. So maybe 10 or 15 for his families, and then 45 for whatever, or 35 for the public. What it means is that no matter who is interested in attending that wedding, if you don't have the access or now the gate pass, you cannot enter. The same happened in the stadium. No matter how.
You know I'm laughing? Because even me, my wedding, I had a list, I had cards, and after, receiving, abuse from people who said, they love me anyway. Why didn't you give me a card? Why are you limiting it? We want to come. We don't need food. We just want to come. Before I got from church back to the reception, people who were not even on the list had already gotten into the venue. The man at the gate was calling, begging, say, CEO, I can't stop them. They are pushing their way through. And now,
That's the Kofi, if you didn't want them to enter truly, you won't put the person who is sympathetic towards them. You put the person who is there to enforce your law, to enforce your. So you have a bouncer there. He doesn't have anybody's face. If he says, "I am this uncle," and the name of that uncle is not on the list, the bouncer will not let him in. For example, that's what I'm saying. At the stadium, no matter how much you are passionate about your national team or your football team, if you don't have the ticket, you will not be allowed to the event center. You will not be allowed to the stadium. It happened. But
we, in this country, Fasusi, we have stadiums that people have broken gates to enter. Even in Lagos here, years ago, people break gates to enter stadium. Why do you want to stop us from watching a national team? They break the gate.
Yeah. We learn from experiences. The gate must have been made in such a way that it can be broken. Right? I tell you, also in UK, people have the capacity to break gates. But because maybe the facility managers, they've understood this type of risk, they make the gate now in such a way that you cannot just easily break it because you want to watch a match. They make the defenses the way you cannot jump over it because you want to watch match, and so on and so forth. So these things can come from experience. The stadium in Lagos that broke because they were enthusiastic, they were passionate about the team that is playing. If they want to rebuild it, I expect them to rebuild it better. The same thing happens in safety management. Sometimes you're making a fence that is fireproof, so that in case there is fire, the fence will not be destroyed by the fire. But you may forget that fire may come with an explosion. And because of that, the explosion will destroy the fence and everything is escalated. So the next time you're now trying to rebuild it, you don't only make it fireproof. If there's risk of explosion, you also build that into it. So that if there's fire or explosion, defense will withstand it.
But Fasusi, I don't know, because it seems I'm blaming people too much. I accept and agree that event organizers, whether professional or non-professional, people who just have events, even churches, I'm a Christian, do not have any idea or any thought. They don't spare a thought for crowd control. This thing you talked about, they don't spare a thought for it at all. But I feel that if we don't educate our people to an extent from kindergarten about emergency response, crowd control, even how to exit when there's a fire drill. I've never had fire drill from the beginning of my school to my university till I graduated. Never had a fire drill. They have this abroad. So I don't know. I want to talk about education. There's something called the Hillsborough tragedy, which I know you're aware of. Talked about the UK and all that, where they had it was a terrible thing. But because of time, I want to talk about education and enlightenment. How can we go about this, Fasusi?
Kofi, you will agree that in the previous sessions we've had on sessions like this, I've always been an advocate of public awareness, sensitization, and so on and so forth. Because it goes along. My school of thought is that the more the people know, the better safe they become, the better the actions they will take. Now, we have different organizations, both from government and non-government organizations, both NGOs, who have this ability, who have this platform to educate the people. And I can tell you many of them are doing that already. The Institute, for example, is one of such. Apart from regulating and setting standards of safety management in Nigeria, we also organize public awareness. Just a few days ago, on Sundays precisely, this last Sunday before this, we organized a public a webinar where anybody is free to join. And what are we telling them? Safety regulations. These are part of awareness. The National Orientation Agency is there. At the state level, we have these organizations. We have NGOs that do this. Now, community leaders are also advocate that this type of awareness should come down to the community. Because these events happen in community. The same things we practice in the professional sector, we can also do them in the public sector. If you want to do a project in the industry, you must consider the host community. You make them as part of your stakeholders.
Fasusi, we have
part of your risk.
We have to go. I think we'll have to do another time, maybe next week or something. We have to bring you back. But I have to leave it at that. I'll say some government events, even around the country, I've seen they are not safety conscious. Fasusi, thank you so much for your time. Fasusi Olayinka of ISPON has been our guest on the Morning Crossfire. Thank you very much for your time, sir.
We'll be right back.
Pregnant Care.
Do you know why you should take Pregnant Care supplements before, during, and after pregnancy? Pregnant Care is formulated by scientists to create the safest and most trusted Vitabiotics UK.
99.3 Nigeria Info. We are more than just radio. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Nigeria Info FM. Check us out on Facebook at Nigeria Info 99.3. Follow us on Twitter at Nigeria Info FM and on Instagram at Nigeria Info FM Lagos for live updates as it happens. 99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's talk. 99.3 Nigeria Info. We are more than just radio.